Robbins, and I'm not exactly sure what sourdough bread has to do with the library, but thank you, Rose, and thank you to Whatcom County Library Service for organizing this event. So I've been making my own sourdough bread for probably 20 or 25 years, a long time, with a few breaks in between when I was out of the country. But we almost never buy bread. This is just what we do for bread. Occasionally, some go buy something really good like Terra bread or something, but we just don't buy bread, we just make bread. The thing is, it's a little bit hard to do a class on sourdough bread. Well, there's a couple of reasons why it's hard. First of all, I don't really know anything about it, I just do it. I'm no expert, and I'm no cook or baker either. But more importantly, it takes like 3 days. It's a long process. It's not like if you have a bread maker, you throw the dough together with the yeast in it, commercial yeast, and you turn on the button. I've never had a bread maker, but I know they work very well and they make great bread, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just was always kind of fascinated by the fact that you could make bread without commercial yeast, and sort of natural, I guess. Seems natural, but I've never been able to produce sort of that San Francisco sourdough bread. My breads don't come out that sour, but I don't know exactly why that is or what makes San Francisco bread unique. So in preparation for this class, it's been so many years that I've been making it just the way I do it. I went and Googled a few things, and I gave you a couple of, I think, good sites on here. This Sourdough Home, and then from King Arthur Flour Company. And I realized that according to the experts, I'm doing it all wrong. But it works. So it's not rocket science. And my only advice is to experiment. Not going to hurt anything. It's been so long. I got the basic recipe, which is on page 2, I think, with a gift of some starter, probably 25 or 30 years ago, and.
Is that the same starter?
Well, I don't think so, because it died several times. But I can't remember. I cannot actually. Yeah, I've got some starter there.
Smell it.
I can't really remember how I started new starter when I needed to. There were a couple of times when I was working overseas when I'd let the starter go. There was one time when I was overseas where I actually carried it as carry-on to keep it. I don't think you could do that today because it would be considered a liquid or a gel. But one thing that I read in one of these 2 sites is that, contrary to my former belief and probably common belief, just capturing the necessary yeast and bacillus out of the air by leaving your starter out, a new starter out, is a very inefficient way to do it, and not really what's going on. They recommend starting your starter with whole wheat or rye flour because it has more of the yeast and bacilli on it, and then they recommend, once you get it going and it looks like it's successful, to feed it with just all-purpose unbleached white flour. For whatever reason, the person 30 years ago that gave me a starter and her recipe said to feed it with sugar and mashed potato flakes. And so that's what I've always done. And when I had it in Africa and I didn't have access to instant mashed potatoes, I started using corn flour, which was finer than cornmeal, but that was the staple in Africa, so I just used flour. So the point is, I think any starch and sugar and starch can feed a starter. You just have to experiment. Okay, so you've got a starter and I don't have a lot of expertise or recollection on how to start a new starter. We've got some here, which hopefully we can divide up and give you, and then you can feed it, and it grows. You can, even if you start with a small amount, in a week, you can double it.
It's like a pet.
Yeah, exponential growth.
Does it have to be kept in a certain temperature?
Yeah, I'll get to that. So then you got your starter, which once you have it, and that's where I'm a little bit of a blank spot in my knowledge and preparation here. But once you've got a starter, you feed it, you double it, you let it warm up, you keep it out of the refrigerator overnight. Then you use half of it for a batch of bread dough, and the other half you put back in the refrigerator. That bread ball rises up. That takes another 12 hours or so, and you punch it down and you put it into bread pans. You let that rise up again. That's another 8-12 hours. It depends on how good your starter is and how heavy your dough is.
How warm your house is.
And how warm your house is. And then you bake your bread, and then the recipe that I have says feed the starter every 4 to 7 days. I've let the starter go for weeks and then fed it, and it's fine. It's in the refrigerator. Keep it in the
I
refrigerator.
would let it go for a long
Yeah, so it's pretty. So again, it's not rocket science, and it's pretty forgiving, and it works. So now let's see. I made a batch of fed my starter, mixed the dough, let it rise yesterday, and then last night I put it into bread pans. This morning it was fully risen. Unfortunately, transported over here, it dropped a little bit, but it's all right. And I just made, for the first time in a long time, I just made the basic recipe with just white flour. I used just a little bit of gluten, which I didn't really need to because I saw how fast it rose up. But because it's not bread flour, I guess bread flour probably has a bit more gluten than regular flour.
So it's better to
Some of you
use bread
bakers would
flour.
know.
It's better to use the bread flour than.
Well,
than just regular.
might be. I never do, but I used to in the old days. For some reason, I almost never make that basic white bread. I usually make either a mix of dough with oatmeal and oat bran, or I use half whole wheat flour and I put a lot of wheat bran in it. So I have sort of my wheat bread and my oatmeal bread. And sometimes I even make rye bread too, but not as often. My wife doesn't like those much. So
I don't know if we could do it with gluten-free.
this is not for gluten-free,
You know-
because there's going to be gluten in any wheat flour.
I wonder if you could, like, eventually make a
Oh.
gluten-free
Like an almond.
starter.
Well,
This
that
would be an
experiment,
to try
yeah,
out.
because my starter doesn't have any gluten in it. It has sugar, it has mashed potatoes, it has corn meal in it. So there's no wheat, there's no other gluten. And then use a lot of that, and I don't know. I don't think it'll rise up, but you could try it, experiment. So anyway, so that's where we are. So let's see. I've got a starter. I've got 2 starters here that are ready to be fed. So I thought we'd do that, and then we can divide that up. And with the basic recipe, you can make it with just a cup of starter. If you're using heavier dough flours and ingredients, I usually go a cup and a half. I also, because my crock, which is in the microwave there, but it's about the same size as one of these. For simplicity, I just use half of it, and then I put it back in the refrigerator, and then
So you
I feed
kind
it.
of always on call where it is.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to make something in a week, and you still want to feed it, do you
You throw it away,
that
throw it down the drain. Yeah. If you feed it,
Put it in
and then if
your
you're not going to use it, you either give it to somebody else, or you just put it in your compost.
Or start a second.
Yeah, put it start a second.
Yeah, keep
But
going.
but then the next week you can start another one, and the next week pretty soon you'll
We'd be
You don't
multiplying.
have to feed it every week.
Divide and
No,
conquer.
you don't. Sorry. So let's feed these guys. And I think probably a loose lid is probably a good idea because although in the refrigerator there's not much going on, but obviously it's giving off gas. And I'll bring the crock. Excuse me. I'll bring the crock. I just used a tea bag here, but at home I use a rubber band. I use a rubber band. The door stays closed
it's almond
and the
pie.
light stays
Oh,
on.
right.
Recognize that Costco
Light
container.
as the warmth.
Yeah, I think if you have if it's summertime and you have a nice warm sunny kitchen, you can just leave it out on the counter, but I just, for simplicity's sake and all year round, actually, when I feed my starter, I put it in a microwave and leave the light on. I use like a rubber band so the door doesn't open up. And so this is ready to go. It's been fed. You can see it's bubbling. How does that compare and smell to? Now, Rose,
I smell one of your ones in the plastic and they smell the same.
yeah, and you used flour to feed yours?
I did use flour to feed mine and I used white flour this
That's
time.
more sour.
It does smell more sour.
The spoon,
Is this what you store them in all the time? Like,
No, I stored in this. This is just for today.
Oh, okay.
I made extra and Rose made
so
extra.
you tell them what the best thing to store it in is?
I-
Like
well,
a crock, that's
this-
kind of a
yes.
crock
Bubbled after I
This is
ate it.
good because it's got a loose,
loose lid. You don't
Lid.
Yeah, and
want
I've got whole wheat flour in
and-
this one.
and when I put it in the microwave, I usually put a plate under it because it does sometimes boil over. Okay, so let's feed these and then we'll have an extra. And then we'll make up a batch of dough using half of this and leaving half for next week. So I use, like I said, I use sugar.
Can we just feed mine too? And then we'll
Sure.
have a lot.
Okay. So, 1, 2, 3.
Do you ever have your recipe?
No, I never have.
They don't have to be exactly 1 tablespoon.
No.
I see your
Nothing's
summer
exact.
heat.
No,
Nothing's exact.
nothing's exact. Nothing's exact in this.
So that was sugar.
Okay, that was sugar. These are just probably the cheapest mashed potato flakes you can find.
And those last
Or-
forever too.
Or not, or just use flour.
So you could use flour if you
I
want.
use whole wheat flour, so mine's a little darker than his, and I've also used the white flour this last night.
And too.
Yeah, these websites,
The starch.
the websites recommended not using whole wheat flour to feed the starter because you might be introducing other things that you don't want in there. That's what it said. I don't know if I'd buy that or not, but that's what it said. And then just as a tribute to my Africa experience, I throw some cornmeal in there.
And what is that?
That's white cornmeal.
Okay.
You don't have to, or?
Is it white corn flour?
Oh, so you don't
That's
have
corn flour.
Cornmeal, it's white cornmeal. You could use yellow. No, this is just my little,
Your special recipes.
so.
Yeah, we got Mark's special.
Okay, now you want hot water that's like really hot tap water, but not gonna scald you, so I boil water and then I cool it off a little bit.
So not so hot that it kills everything in there.
So move tap water, just tap
Well,
water?
warm.
A little warmer than tap water.
Yeah, it's just tap water, it's
So warmer
chlorinated tap water, it's never given me any problem. Some people use bottled water, they say don't use distilled water, but if you think the chlorine or whatever they put in our water is a problem. So you just kind of fill it up and, because we're sort of doubling. Size.
So 2 cups.
Have you ever tried using beer?
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
It probably worked.
it works really well.
Oh, it does?
Oh, okay. Oh, dear, yes.
And it
It
adds,
might be harder to stir.
it adds a nice flavor to it too.
Oh, really?
You use it in the starter or when making the bread dough?
I used it, many years ago I used it in the starter.
In the
Did you let the beer
starter?
go
Yeah,
flat
it's
first, or
good,
did
it's
you do it carbonated?
I let it room temperature, just room
Room
temperature.
temperature.
Well, that's a thought.
And you have to experiment with it to get it right. But it gives it, especially if you're using like a Guinness, it gives it a really nice
Nickel Modelo?
flavor. Something,
Guinness is so hearty and yeasty.
but it also gives it that, more of that sour
Yes.
dough, more like a
More
San
to use,
Fran,
like,
that San Francisco flavor
There
you're
you
looking
go,
for.
more
Oh,
sourdough.
a Weizen beer.
Yeah,
Use the beer.
yeah.
Oh, darn.
Now, one thing about using flour in the starter, it does create sort of lumps.
Oh, so
Whereas the
bread,
the mashed potatoes and the sugar, okay, so let's see. I'm gonna take that out. Should be ready.
So how
So I
long?
put this in 55 minutes ago. That's what I use. 55 minutes at 350 degrees.
Taste it, yeah.
You double check that it's done.
Yeah, I shouldn't. Looks done.
Do you slip the side out and tap the side?
Well, you're supposed to hear like a drum or something.
And drum.
I don't know, you think it's done, Rose?
Looks good. The sides would be squishy, right, if it wasn't done. I think.
So put it on a rack.
It's the Galloping Gourmet, Mark.
Yeah, where's the wine, Rose?
We forgot the important part.
Or at least the beer so we can put our starter.
Right, he can use that as an excuse and then go on and have to finish it.
Start
We can
different
try that
starters.
later.
Well, I was just thinking you could do something like a sharp top lemon, you know, it's got the wheat in it and it's got a little bit of lemon, you get a little bit more sour.
Well, he said you can experiment.
You can experiment.
Oh, I like
Our friend Sally Roberts, I was telling her about this. She didn't know that I made bread.
Bread.
She said, "Oh, you ever put things in it?" I said, "Yeah, like oatmeal and seeds and things like that." No, what about apricots or fruits? So I never tried making a sweet one. I said, you should do something like cranberry walnut
Say
sourdough.
cranberry sourdough.
And I said, well, I'm gonna.
Seems like a really strange.
I think I'll try it. I think I'll try it for Thanksgiving.
I like
Cranberry
sourdough, lots of
orange.
butter.
Yes.
Cranberry orange.
Cranberry orange, just
But
put
you're
some
still
orange
gonna
zest.
Could use a little orange
Yeah.
juice maybe.
Yeah, little orange juice, little orange zest.
Instead of the water and the beer, put any flavor you want, I imagine. He said experiment.
All right, so these are, normally now you would put these, you would leave these out in a warm place, loosely covered, for, I'd say overnight,
So overnight.
or 12 hours, something like that.
I think you do want to loosely cover it, otherwise, if you've got fruit flies or anything, they can get in there.
Yeah, you don't want
You
flies,
have to have some kind of.
especially with mine with sugar in it.
Okay, so you mean like put it in the microwave and just, no. Or you
Well,
can stick it
I-
in the oven and leave your oven light.
Yeah, but I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's warm right above my water heater. I don't know.
Yeah, some people put it on top of their refrigerator, because
Yeah,
there's
top of the
warmth
fridge
coming off of that.
You know, like some people.
It's a coffee filter, you can use wax paper,
Yeah.
and this rubber band on like a. I have put like sealed and left it out, and what happens is it builds up some air.
Pressure.
And so you'll come in and you'll see the dome, and so you just let the air out.
If you have a jar like that, can you just leave that lid on the jar, or is that too tight?
This, I just leave that on. So,
You're doing good.
I wondered who the teacher was gonna be here today.
what's that?
I said, I wondered who the teacher was gonna be here today.
I've never done that. Something like this. So, what I do is I mix the dough ball in here, and then I let it rise in here. The first thing I do is grease oil the thing where it's gonna rise up. And I do it somewhat, I'd say, generously, because in addition to oiling the bowl, when you put the bread dough ball in there, I roll it around so that the top is oiled. Because they say to
Is
oil
some
the
of it
top.
absorbing?
Well, it does, I'm sure, but who cares? I mean, there is oil in the recipe. So I thought I'd make sort of my standard oatmeal one. And that means, you know, who knows how you compare measurement-wise oatmeal to flour. I mean, basically the recipe is 6 cups of flour. So you know, if it's a little too dry, you add a little more water at the end. If it's too wet, you add a little more flour. Doesn't really matter. But because I'm going to add oat bran and oatmeal, I'm going to put this gluten flour in it. So I'm going to start with that. So do like a cup
Why
of...
do you use the gluten?
The gluten is what gives the structure to the bread. It makes the flour rise, the bread dough rise. If there's more gluten in it, it's going to have more ability to rise. It's basically wheat flour. It's just, I guess they extract the gluten somehow. I buy it at the co-op or at Winco or something.
It's a wheat product, yes.
It's a wheat product.
So what recipe are you making, this, the
Oatmeal.
first one? Or this?
Do I have one?
For example. Yeah, it says.
Over here,
Oh, next one.
the next one, okay, so this
And
is.
there I said half a cup of gluten, but I just put a cup in, so like I said,
Somewhere between half and 1 cup.
yeah.
So it never has to be exact.
No,
Okay.
really.
So you have to add gluten to anything that you're making with this, right?
No.
No, I wouldn't, I would say with that, you don't need any gluten.
Okay, no, I was just looking at the recipes that were all, they all had gluten in them, so I was just wondering if it was.
I don't think you have to.
You don't have to. Well, I think it works better if you're going to make a heavier one. Yeah, I did put it down, because I've just gotten into where's the basic?
Part of the experiment.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, when you look at the basic recipe up there,
Gotcha.
there's no gluten. 6 cups of flour and a tablespoon of salt. So, tablespoon of salt. So we've got a cup of flour in there now, the gluten flour. It helps it rise. The gluten is what makes it rise, yeah. I don't know exactly the physics of flour, but it's what, if you try to make bread out of a flour that doesn't have gluten in it, other than wheat, it tends to be really dense. Yeah, like crackers. Let's do the
I'm gonna say,
not mashed potatoes.
That's potato bread.
Let's do the oat bran, that's easier to measure. Okay, so we've got a cup in there, and do like half a cup
Itself
of,
would have gluten in it, wouldn't it?
what's that?
Wheat flour itself. would
Yes,
have gluten
it does,
in
it does,
So why would you add gluten?
just to give it more, because you're trying to make these heavier things, you're trying to make this rise.
Yeah, because you're not using all, just.
I'm not using all
flour.
all flour. Alright, so that's one.
They don't have
So you have
gluten,
to
so you have
fluff
to
it up.
balance it.
So, honestly, there's no, what did I put on the recipe for oatmeal? A cup
Two,
of?
oatmeal is 2 cups. If you're using this recipe.
2 cups. Okay, so that's 1.5, what, say that's like 2.5 equivalent.
Adds up to 6.
There's 3.
Dry ingredients adding to roughly 6 cups.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
or
You couldn't get enough shot. So you're trying to get enough 2 sheets.
Whoa.
So mix up to 6. Yeah, because these are
Did
only
you put
half
brand
cups
in your
he's using.
tea already?
Not full cups, yeah.
okay.
They fooled me for a minute too.
I put a half a cup. So we don't know exactly if that's right because the oatmeal is obviously, if you ground it up into flour, it's not going to be as voluminous as that.
For another mixing or a wooden spoon?
You put things like flax seeds in
Yeah.
there
Yeah,
or...
absolutely.
Yeah, that won't make a difference.
Well, there again, that's why I put the gluten in there because it'll carry those things with it. Yeah, I make rye bread sometimes. I
Caraway rye.
put the caraway in there.
So you would put the flaxseed instead of the gluten flour?
No.
No, you still have to put the gluten.
Just if you wanted to put it in addition or instead of the oatmeal, if you want
Oh,
to
okay,
make flat.
instead of like the oatmeal.
Yeah.
Or even instead of the white flour, you could put half a cup of flax seeds instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. As long as it totals 6, it's really no biggie.
Right.
Yeah.
You can buy big bags. of
Okay, so we've got our
flour just
bowl,
to
we've got our,
good quality bags, too.
so now, this is the starter that was, sort of cooking overnight in my microwave. So I'm gonna
Stir it up good.
stir it up. And in it, obviously I use sugar, and I don't know how much of the sugar is doesn't actually taste sweet, but there's a lot of sugar in there. The original recipe that I got from my friend 30 years ago called for a little sugar in the recipe. I've just never done that. I figure there's plenty of sugar in there. So I'm going to use about half of what I've got here. Whereas if you're just using white flour, white bread flour, a cup of this is probably enough. It'll rise up. That looks like about a cup and a half of starter. Now I'm gonna, oops. Could you take that top off? Okay, thank you. So half a cup of oil.
Do you have a preference to what type of oil you use?
I use canola oil. I think you can use any kind of oil.
Yeah.
I'm sure olive oil would probably be great, but it seems like a little extravagant. And now,
You get a taste from olive oil.
yeah, you probably would, and that might be good.
To put olives in there with the
So now what you want to do is end up with 3 cups.
And that's hot?
That's
That's
hot.
still the warm.
That's still hot. So 3 cups of liquid with starter oil. I'm just going to throw it all in there.
How many loaves of bread is that going to make?
3 loaves. This is
3
one.
loaves?
Yeah, six cups of flour and other things, up to, and mix it up. And we'll see if we need more flour or more water. Looks maybe a little wet.
So can we also stir it while it's wet so we know what wet is?
Oh, do you guys want to play with it?
Yeah. Like how wet is wet?
Go ahead.
It's not.
You don't really know till you put your hands in there.
Well, you can get a little bit of a sense. It's not pancake batter.
Oh, to me, it looks like it would be dry because there's so,
Yes.
I can't really tell till I start mixing.
I would add more water.
So do you stir it
Yes.
with a
Okay.
spoon first and then do your hands, or do you just go right in?
No, I usually mix them like that first,
Okay.
It's like kind of dry.
and
I know with experience, like if you're making muffins, you get a sense of if something's too wet or too dry. So this is kind of like that, just by doing it, you get the hang of it.
because you want when you mix it into a ball, you want it to be dry enough so that it doesn't stick to your
doesn't
fingers.
stick to
Oh,
You know,
right.
but it's supposed to be
So
sort of
when it
moist.
binds together.
Somebody once told me it's supposed to remind you of the soft bottom of a baby's rear end. I don't know. Well, but since this has oatmeal flakes in it, I don't think we're going to achieve that. So I'm just going to go ahead
He
and
needs some
stick
diaper rash medication.
my hands in here. So yeah, there's still some flour there.
So you gotta get your hands in there
Yeah,
anyway.
you absolutely do. Get it all, you just, I don't know if this counts as kneading or not, but just get it all mixed together.
Does it feel about the way it should?
Yeah, I'd say.
So your recipe's right on.
Anybody else want to stick their hands in it?
They're not washed enough.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it bakes for an hour, so I don't think you really have to worry too much about, I mean, I washed my hands,
Just been
but,
patting the dog.
yeah, well, yeah, and I washed my hands a couple of times too.
Might be a little flea on it.
Yeah, this is about right.
Hair.
Many times when I'm at this point, I'll either add a little more flour or add just a little splash of water. And when it comes down to this, it doesn't take very much. If it's dry, it really doesn't take much water to make it wet or too wet. So but this looks pretty good.
How long do you need it for?
Just until you can create this ball where everything is mixed together and there's nothing left in
No
the
dry
ball.
spots or anything
Yeah.
left.
So
You
that's,
kind of pinch it down or punch it
Yeah.
down.
yeah, I mean, you probably could use the counter or a cutting board or something, but I don't.
Keep it in the bowl.
When I need it, I do it on a cutting board.
Right.
Okay, so that's about right. So you got your ball. I'm gonna throw it in the oil, and then I'm gonna turn it over
Every side oiled.
and leave the oiled side up. And it's pretty good. So that's that. Now, what I'm going to do with that is take some wax paper. Cover it. And that's going to go in the microwave. If somebody wants to
Somewhat
put it in.
warm or,
Yeah, with the light on.
okay.
At least that's the way I would do it.
Well, you leave that in there for like 12 hours?
Yeah. Well, leave it certainly until it rises up. It'll rise up to the top of the bowl or even higher.
Okay.
You can also put it in an oven with the light on.
Any warm place. I think you could leave it just down a countertop if your house is warmed, is heated.
So if I went to use the microwave,
I take it
if I
out.
took it
Just
out,
take it
no
out.
problem, it's not gonna just stop doing its thing?
No,
Okay.
it's pretty forgiving.
Well, we have a wood stove and I was...
Okay, so that's gonna rise up overnight for,
8 to 12
or,
hours.
yeah, you just watch it. I mean, like this one rose up really fast because it was just white flour, like I said. I
So if you
probably-
put oatmeal and stuff in it, it takes a
It
little
takes
longer?
longer.
Okay.
Takes longer.
denser.
And sometimes it just doesn't
That might get too hot.
rise up. Usually the ball in the bowl,
Hello? Will it double?
usually the ball in the bowl will rise up to the top of the
So it
bowl
almost
at least,
doubles.
yeah. Now sometimes with heavy breads or the starter doesn't have the oomph or whatever the variable is, sometimes I'll put it into the bread pans and it just won't really, it'll get bigger, but you won't have that nice big rounded, doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, it depends on what kind of bread you want, but you bake it and you just have a denser, heavier bread. So it's still good. Okay, so that's gonna be doing its thing, rising for overnight, say, or for all day long. And when it's up there, then you take it out. This is the part I couldn't really arrange to have this ready to go, another batch ready to go. So you punch it down, and you divide it into 3 more or less equal parts, and just, you know, do it into a ball, like a softball. Feel it, and that they're about equal. And then, this is one thing that's nice about it, then you knead it on a cutting board or a countertop about 25 times. You know, just,
After you divide it into
yeah,
three
each
balls.
one,
Okay.
you know, and you fold it over and you knead it, which is not very much, 25 times. And then you form it into a loaf, you put it into your loaf pans.
They're in the dot, the dots. Is it oil loaf pans?
Okay, I don't, these are old, no-stick ones. I put a little cornmeal in the bottom of them. I don't oil it at all, but I do take a little, cornmeal and just, you know, like people do on a pizza pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know if it matters or not. If you didn't have I don't know how good the no-stick quality is of these things are old. But if you didn't have a no-stick one, that probably would be especially good. So then you put it in these things. Again, I put it in the microwave, but you could just put it in a warm place. I usually put a piece of wax paper over the top. I don't oil the top. You could maybe take spray olive oil or something, but I just don't. I used to, but I just didn't see that it made any difference. I guess you could use egg white too if you wanted that.
If you want that real crunchy, chewy
Yeah.
top,
Yeah.
they spray it with a spray bottle full of water while it's cooking.
Oh, while it's
Oh.
cooking. That's how you get the French
That really
type of
chewy,
bread.
chewy thing
Yeah.
on the top.
I've never done that, but experiment. It sounds like a good idea. And then when that's risen, and sometimes you might be a little disappointed that it's not like up to the top, but it's still going to be good. It goes in the oven for, I figure, 55 minutes at 350 degrees.
When it's in the pan, you let it sit in more?
After it's cooked,
No, before it's cooked, when you put it in the pan.
yeah, it has to go overnight.
So it continues to rise while,
Second rising, yeah.
it continues to rise while it's in there. The second rising you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so you've got,
Can you advance the rising?
In a
yeah,
warmer place.
you could put yeast in your.
No, but I'm just saying,
in
like
your-
when I do regular bread,
Yeah.
I turn on the oven to 200.
Oh.
I turn the
I've
oven
never-
off, then I put the bread in to rise.
Never,
It's just staying in there
never
extra time.
tried, never tried that. I think it
just wondering if you
would,
could
I think
advance.
the warmer it is, the faster it's gonna work. I've never tried. doing
Experiment.
that.
I'm gonna
Experiment, yeah, experiment, that's the byword. So, yeah, so then put it in the oven for 55 minutes. You can watch it 50 minutes, an hour.
Depends on your oven.
Yeah, it
And
depends
you
on
put
the
all
oven.
your pans, all 3 pans into the microwave at once?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
For the
I can
rise.
get them all in there, and, yeah, they're a little, it's got that circular tray in it, it's kind of wobbly or uneven, but it doesn't
Take it
matter. Yeah, you can take it out. And then take them out of the oven and let it cool, and then you can eat it.
This is what we start doing in the
I'll let somebody else do some cutting.
What we should do it here.
Sample. Someplace.
Got some now.
Butter may still be a little bit hard because it came out of the freezer this morning.
It smells good.
It does.
So this has no oatmeal or wheat or bran, nothing, no redeeming qualities.
This is just the white
This is
flour.
just white flour.
Wow, you can smell it.
So there's some.
By the way, I only patted the dog with my right hand. I know my left hand is clean. Just in case you were thinking, "Ee,
You touched the whole loaf.
what is she
Now we're
doing?"
doing it.
Yes, yeah.
Again, tough 3 loaves.
This is
I'm not
great.
sure.
Ooh, it's still warm
Okay, cut that.
That's it. That's all I know about.
Must have been hard for you to cut it because
Oh, we
it's
have to
warm.
figure out what
It
we're
was,
gonna do
you
with
know, I
it.
have a really good knife for cutting hot bread.
Well, I have
And
three
it's that
yogurt
TV
containers
knife
and
that says
4
it
jars.
cuts
It
eggs.
slices, it dices.
Honestly, I love